started working for Air Wisconsin in February 1970. So that's, what, 54 years ago? He started when he was 3. Oh no, 4.5 years after the company had its first flight. 30 of his 33 years he worked in the offices of Air Wisconsin. He enjoys aviation and flying airplanes. Over the years he got his private pilot's license, commercial license, and his multi-engine rating. After flying for 34 years and owning 4 different aircraft, he rearranged his priorities to other interests in his life, working in hot air ballooning, astronomy, meteorology, the space program, and ballroom dancing, which he promises to display for us. For the last about 10 years, he goes to Florida to help out with Ann's Angels, adaptive water ski program for people with disabilities. An underlying element was a love of the people and places where he lived. The Fox Cities, Lafayette, Indiana, Gulfport, Mississippi, and Iola, Wisconsin. He followed the development of the Appleton Airport with the joys and heartaches that can't come from that development. This presentation will start with the whys and how the Appleton Airport came into being and how Air Wisconsin was vital to that development. There will be an overview of Air Wisconsin with the intention of letting you ask questions at the end on things that interest you. The presentation is intentionally designed to pick up on your questions and with the idea of having a future talk about Air Wisconsin, focusing on some of the areas of your interest that you expressed this evening. So without further ado, a warm welcome for Bob Lundt.
We are here because of the Appleton Historical Society, and hey, they let me make a presentation. The Appleton Historical Society wouldn't be around if it wasn't for things like Air Wisconsin and all the other businesses over the last 200 years that came into play. So there's a relationship between community and Appleton Historical Society. I have some building blocks I want to get into as far as getting to Air Wisconsin. When I first started my building blocks, it's going to be strong towards what I want to say the Appleton Historical Society with a little thread going off to Air Wisconsin. And eventually I'm going to get strong on Air Wisconsin with a little thread on the Appleton Historical Society. So I do want to spend a lot of time talking about how Air Wisconsin got up to its first propeller going, and I don't know how many people here are former Air Wisconsin people or currently Air Wisconsin or a family of Air Wisconsin people, and I'm sure everybody has their ideas of that which they want to talk about. And I want you to name some communities, and you can say it out loud. For instance, anybody know what this is? Madison. Okay. Anybody know what this is? Anybody know what this is?
Whispering Pines, Grand Chute, Little Chute, Appleton.
Love it. You guys are doing just what I want to hear. Namely, it's been my feeling that if I'm from some suburb of Madison, I tell you I'm from Madison. If I'm from Bellevue or Ashwaubenon, I tell you I'm from Green Bay. But when it comes to this community, I'm from Neenah. I am not from Appleton. I'm from Kimberly. I am not from Appleton. And so I came to thinking about how we could unify this. And a dozen years ago, I went to the Appleton City Council and see if they could somehow make my wish come true. And that was, I wanted to address all these communities and find something that was unifying about them. And I thought, hey, maybe that'll help out with fire departments and police departments, which, by the way, that's already happening going across lines. But the other thing, to show a proudness of this community. Oh, I heard somebody say Fox Cities. Which ones are the Fox Cities? Which one are the Fox Valley? Is Green Bay part of the Fox Cities or Fox Valley? Is Oshkosh part of the Fox Cities or Fox Valley? It's amazing how intelligent you are. Because when I went to the city council, I said that I wanted to unify this. By the way, is it the Fox Cities or Fox Valley? And which communities are included? And the council member said to me, well, I'll tell you what, if you come up with this thing and make it work, you made that decision. So there is no understanding what the Fox Cities is in Fox Valley. And hey, the people in Green Bay, when they're watching the news, they know where the Fox Valley is. Oshkosh, they know where the Fox Valley is, even though they're all along the same Fox River. So I suggested as a unifying thing was looking at the population of the Fox Cities, and I defined who the Fox Cities were. Now, this is kind of hard to read, but I did put some letters out here on the side. I included only up to here, didn't include these communities in, but we're getting close to 250,000 people here. Oh, but the first 3 are cities and the rest aren't. Fox Cities? Huh. By the way, those 3 cities account for over half of that grand total. So, is it the Fox Cities or the Fox Valley? So I kind of said, maybe it's the Fox Valley. So what I wanted to do was take those signs when you come in on a state road into a city, and they have population. Now you gotta kind of have to imagine this. This is one of them green signs you see when you come in. And I left it this way as opposed to getting the real one because of the next slide, because then I couldn't do the green slide. And that was, the unifying factor would be is that we put out Appleton with its population and then the Fox Cities with its population. And hey, the rest of the communities would do the same thing. Neenah with their population, but everybody had the same Fox Valley population on it. Council told me, well, in order to do that, first of all, you have to talk to the state and get the approval. Called the state, and they said, all we want to know is that you're doing it, but by the way, has to be this color, has to be this size, this font, da 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 da. There was regulations on it. And the other thing was, first of all, those signs are only on the state roads coming into the community. If it's a different road coming into the community, those communities could have a different type of sign. There were still some regulations, but you could change those kind of things out. This was going to require a 2-post sign because of the size of it. So I went to the Public Works to check on what it would take to get this done. Well, the guy said, I think there's about 10 or 12 of those signs coming into the Fox Valley. And he said it probably cost, and he gave me a number, and I figured it out to be around $250,000. Oh, okay, fine, all right. So, done with that building block. I want you to now tell me what airports, what commercial airports you know of in the Fox Cities. Any? Appleton what? Appleton International Airport. Fox Valley. See, Fox Valley, you can't see that over there. So, by the way, is Abe Weber here? I don't know if he would be okay. So Abe is the airport manager at the Appleton Airport. So, as we said, the Appleton International Airport used to be called the Outagamie County Airport for most of its existence. There were a couple chances where they wanted to change the name to the Fox Cities Airport, and what's this about the Greenville Airport? Back in, I think it was around 1972, maybe 73, when there was a dedication at the Appleton Airport for the new terminal building, the Blue Angels came in, and it was just kind of a thing for a dedication type thing. And you know what was said on the Blue Angels schedule that was sent out all across the country where they're going? They're going to the Greenville Airport. So, we all know this, Appleton Airport. This is pretty current, but I want to let you know that when it first started, this used to be called Irish Road, and it went all the way down here. This particular runway was shorter. When it was decided to extend it, then they had to take this road to go out around, and they eliminated Irish Road in here. So this is the current airport, but take a look at it, what I saw it as. So this is probably closer to 1965 when this was taken. And I say that because these particular buildings right here was Max Air, which is now moved to the other end of the field. See this building right here? Appleton Terminal. See this big space here? That's where the new terminal is. So that went away. In the mid 70s, I was talking to Art Borkhardt, who was the airport manager. He had the same problem back then as they're having today. He went to the county and said, hey, can we enlarge this parking lot? They did a study and they said, that 65 stalls is plenty enough for you. So, here again is that terminal building. This is what it looked like when I first started working there. Here's the inside of it. Oh, wow, look at that space. That's the Appleton Terminal. I'm going to show you the Appleton Terminal, and I wish this airplane wasn't in the way, but here is the Appleton Terminal, and this, by the way, is called a Twin Otter. We had a few of those. But the thing I found interesting is that. Headquarters, Air Wisconsin. President's office. And then we added another mobile home, accounting. Two more terminals. Two more were added, and one was for pilot training, and I don't remember what the other one was. So, this again is looking now from the airplane side of things. This is what the Appleton Terminal looked like. You can see the new building is up. So this has got to be around 1973 because that's when we moved into the new building. So just to give you a little bit of a different angle on it, again, the old terminal. This is the new. It's not even a quarter the size where it is right now, but this is the way people went in and out to the airplanes. Oh, by the way, there was one on the other side. Some truck came in, didn't watch his height, nailed that thing. So when you go out to the airport now, you see the clamshell type overhangs. That was all because that truck hit that thing on the other side. So they took this terminal building. Again, this is around 1973. College Avenue was extended out to the airport. They called it CA, County Airport. I don't know. They called it that. And I think before traffic even started using it, they hauled this terminal down that road. And this is where it is today. And over here is, Highway 41 is just on the other side of all this. This is Nicolay, and there's a Bergstrom car there. Appleton, the old Appleton Terminal. Oh, I exaggerated. This is the Appleton terminal. This was added on for the people who took it over. It's still here though, so. So, we named Appleton International. Any other commercial airports? So there was a previous Outagamie County Airport, and that was located on Ballard. So here we are. That particular airport, I can't confirm the beginning. I thought it was around 1950, but it went until 1965. So here's where the old Appleton Airport was. This was 00, or is 00, and here's Ballard Street. So now it became an industrial park once the new airport got started. So let's zero in on that industrial park. Oh, the old Appleton Airport runway. Still there. Grass is closing in on it, but back when it was first being used, they actually used that as a parking lot for those industries, but that's the old Appleton Airport. And I'll show you what the old Appleton Airport looked like. I remember coming out here, watching people come in, park over here. This building here is the same building as these two photos. That's the old Outagamie County Airport. Any other commercial airports? Menasha. Okay, good job. So, Fox Valley, not Whitman, Fox Valley. So, we're going to go and look at a map this way. Here comes 441, Little Lake Butamore, the Butamore Bridge. Memorial Drive coming out of Appleton. Of course, that's Highway 47, keeping on going down Menasha. This area, hey, there's a clue here. So, we're focusing in on this area right here. And I'm going to, anybody know what that is? Kits and File. So, this building here, kind of a Quonset hut type deal. What's that all about? Well, back in the day, it was called Whiting Airport, and this was the building back then in those days, which is now Kits and File, and they got their buildings added onto it. Whiting Airport only lasted, actually I'm going to have a screen come up and say some of that stuff, but it only lasted a couple of years, and George Whiting, which is Whiting Paper, gave $5,000 to get all that stuff started, and it went out because the state says no, there can't be two airports in the same county that have mail contracts. And so they had a mail contract, Oshkosh had a mail contract. So one of them had to go. But the predecessor to American Airlines, North American, used to fly in here. So, this is a view again of the Kits and File, just kind of giving you a little bit of that here. So I said this already, but I'm just going to show it up here, the $5,000 donation and the mail contract. The airport ceased to exist in 1930, not only because of that decision, but also because there was a lawsuit and on some other stuff here. So another little building block. World War II ends. It was obvious that there was a poor transportation system in the United States. Eisenhower saw the Autobahn and said, wow, look what the Germans can do with that Autobahn. What can they do? They can move the military so much easier. He said, we got to change that. He puts in 1956 the Highway Transportation Act, the Federal Highway Act, and starts covering the United States with roads for the people to travel. It wasn't as interest for you and I to travel. It was for the military. If you had to move people across the country, that was where he was, but we'll pass it off to the public. And the big road that most of you might remember hearing about is Route 66, going from Chicago to LA. Heck, there were sections in there, Route 66, it's dirt. There wasn't even really a road, and yet that was part of our highway system. So doing this, big step. Oh, how many remember, in the mid-70s, I remember even after 41, which was a 2-lane highway that I remember, went into being a 4-lane highway, speed limit was 55 day, and at night it was only 45. Holy man. Well, so not only do we have all this kind of a problem going on, how the heck are you going to get from point A to B over long distances? We weren't in the thinking yet that people really wanted to move. This is a new era, the end of World War II, and something else was coming around. Lots of airplanes. Lots of pilots are qualified on those airplanes. What are we going to do with them? So there's a company that you probably have heard of, North Central. And North Central started up in the early 40s as a division of the four-wheel drive in Clintonville. And their purpose was of hauling their business people down to Chicago. Remember that drive? The roads aren't good, and so they want to haul them down. I got a lot of empty seats on this airplane. It'd be nice if we could offset that a little bit. Hey, let's charge the public. They can come along on that. We become an airline then instead of just taking our people, our business people down. So it was called Wisconsin Central and then changed over to North Central. So I'm going to show you a photo. This was probably taken in 1948 at the earliest. And the reason why I know that is, and this is a DC-3. That was a very, very common airplane. And this is what I'm pointing out. 1948, North Central came up with this idea of, well, let's put a little decal out there. We'll put on Herman the Duck. Nobody called it Herman the Duck. That's the Blue Goose. So you probably might have heard that, the Blue Goose. So, and like I said, that DC-3, there were just a lot of them. They were called. There was probably, just in the United States alone, there was well over 10,000 of them created. There was also one that was with license from the United States that was created in Russia. It looks just like a DC-3. It isn't a DC-3. They went to metric. So all the metal for the skin, metric, not what we had. All the boats had to be metric. So they basically re-engineered the airplane. So, and they had a license for 10,000. So there's a lot of these airplanes around. So what's going on with North Central? North Central says, things are moving, all these airplanes, and hey, quality of airplanes are stepping up. DC-3 is not pressurized. We got a pressurized airplane called the Convair 580. Oh, that's faster and bigger, and well, I just want to show you just a kind of end of the life of North Central, their route structure. So they flew in the upper Midwest. But there's one particular route I want to focus on right here, and that is this one. They came out of the UP and flew to Chicago, 5-6 stops along the way, with a DC-3. That thing is slow, but driving was even slower. And just think of all the time for landing, getting people on, off, get up, take off. Oh, by the way, these two communities are so darn close together, you can barely get people on and you're landing again, So North Central said, hey, we can't fly into the old Outagamie County Airport anymore. Our airplane is going to be too fast. That runway's too short. The There was no approval that allowed the runway to be extended like over 00. They couldn't cut that off. So what are we going to do? So North Central says, how about if we just say, get rid of one of those airports, Appleton, Oshkosh, and we'll make one airport. I mean, golly, they're so close together, you know, the two. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. They wanted to have one airport, and the fight went on between the two counties. Outagamie knew they had to get rid of the old airport. Can't do anything with that. So, hey, Winnebago, how about if we build that new airport? Where do they want to put it? Just south of where it is right now. What's the problem? Highway BB's there. That's the county line. They wanted the airport to straddle the county line. You know, taxes here, taxes there. And nope, Winnebago said, you know, guys, screw it. We got the mail contract. North Central has to come in here. So, you know, that was forcing somebody's hand. And the hand got forced even more because there was a group of business people in the Fox cities that took an interest in what was going on here. And they're trying to keep airline service into, should I say Outagamie? Should I say Fox City, Fox Valley? They want to keep it and not just say, hey, we all got to go down to the Oshkosh airport to do this. So it took these business people quite a time to convince the county board, let's build an airport. Oh my golly. First of all, there's not very many passengers getting on those airplanes out of Appleton or Oshkosh. And boy, this is spending a lot of money on we think it might work out. Oh, so there was a lot of struggling between the people on that, on the money of spending and the cost on that. North Central was not happy about this. They were hoping they were going to get rid of a city to fly into, and now there's another airport. And by the way, Appleton and Oshkosh are even closer together now. So what's going on? So let me go down here to the next one here. So these business people, again, friends, kind of pillars of the society. Carl Baldwin was an attorney. Richard Stack was insurance services. John Barlow was president of ASCO Corporation. John Conway, if you remember the Conway Hotel in downtown Appleton, you know, they were part of the people that were getting together. And they met often to discuss how they're going to solve this. And everything they tried kept on falling short. So they were at a cocktail party. Now, you guys probably, when you leave work, you go home and say, let's stop off for a beer. Well, they were stopping off for a cocktail party. And so they're discussing what they can do. So I'm going to just step aside here a second and say, if you remember in history, the ancient Greeks, they had their stage. You know, we're going back a couple thousand years ago. They had their stage, and the actors came out on the stage. There was nothing on the stage. So unless something was said, you didn't know about it. You know, like that green tree right there. Yeah, it does look like it needs a little water, but all right. Hey, so now we know there's a green tree there. In addition, all the actors were male. So you didn't know that one person was a female until the things were said. So, you know, whatever. And now we know that's a female. So I'm going to take that a little bit and going to go back to this day when this cocktail party and they're frustrated. So, gee, you know, I'm really lost what we can do here. What, you know, can you come up with any ideas? well, how about free parking? You know, Oshkosh, you got to pay for that. Maybe that's a thing to do. Why don't you guys just start your own airline? That actually happened. The antics was mine, but that actually happened. So Tess, who is the wife of Carl Baldwin, who eventually becomes president of the board of Air Wisconsin, she was the person that just threw that out there. Kind of that old adage behind every great man there's a, you know, and I just don't know if it really would have got to that point where they would have made the next step to start an airline. We're just trying to keep North Central in here, trying to build an airport. Whew. So in 1963, they got together and they formed a company. What was the name of that company? Air Wisconsin? Fox Cities Airlines. Not Fox Valley, Fox Cities. We're, you know, so they were just some of the key players in the beginning. And like I said, eventually Carl becomes the president of it. So here's a photo of Carl. That used to hang out at the Appleton Airport. It's been moved. Here's a picture when that was still Fox Cities Airlines. And so this is taken before 1965. I remember the commercials on the radio. They were looking for a name for this airline rather than Fox Cities Airlines. So they said, hey, we're going to put out a contest for a new name, and what are the colors going to be for this airline? The two winners were given a free round trip ride to Chicago. Huh. So it's still Fox Cities Airlines. So the daughter-in-law of Carl Baldwin, Joni, she was an artist. She decides to, let me just back off. A question was asked, a reporter asked the president of North Central Airlines what he thought about this startup airline coming on. And he said, give them a couple months, they'll be done. So Joni, like I said, as an artist, she decides that she needed to do something about it. So she paints a picture and she sends it to the president of North Central, the Goose, sends a picture there. And she puts a little caption on it that says, the fox is gonna get the goose. So there was two of these made. One of them was given to the North Central president, and the other one is currently held out in Colorado by the son of one of the pilots for Wisconsin. I'm going to skip this next time because I just said that stuff. In the airline industry, there's a lot of terms, and just like any other industry, but lift and frequency are something to consider. Anybody have an idea what lift means?
Going up.
Frequency? So North Central has the Convair 580, and I think they had 44 seats in that airplane. Air Wisconsin gets started, and the airplane has 8 seats in it. And going to compete? Oh, by the way, the Convair is pressurized, fast, and all that. And here comes Air Wisconsin. So we have a lift out of Appleton of 44 seats. If there's one airplane, there was times that they were doing 2 airplanes too. But let's just stay with the one, 44 seats. Air Wisconsin comes in and gets 4 airplanes and has a lift of 32. But the thing they had was frequency. I want to go on a flight to get down to Chicago. North Central flight just misses it all together, you know, and coming back, same problem. You know, trying to make those connections to do it. Air Wisconsin is offering frequency. So that, and I want to show you what the Dove looked like, the Air Wisconsin Dove, the 8-passenger airplane. Again, the board members there. We didn't have those airplanes very long. Again, not being pressurized and such. And this is an event that I was actually at, is the ribbon cutting ceremony. So on that day, I was over here somewhere in the crowd. On that day, they taxied the airplane and cut the ribbon with the airplane. So for people who are part of Air Wisconsin, here's mom and dad. So Air Wisconsin's first flight was August 23rd, 1965. In October, the board hired Preston Wilborn. He was from Piedmont Airlines. He was with their traffic department, understanding moving people and all that kind of financial stuff to keep the airline going. So he came in, and it was definitely a family. Kitty, she had parties with the pilots' wives all the time. We didn't have flight attendants yet at that time. And so she knew all of them. Preston, he was micromanaging while he was macro managing, but man, I'd be working sometimes 2 in the morning, there he comes into my office. I was talking to people when we had a maintenance base in Fort Wayne, middle of the night, here comes Preston in. He came in on another airline, so nobody could see that he was coming in. Just checking on things. He was just micromanaging, he always knew what was going on. So, very important to the development of Air Wisconsin. I don't know if I'm going to get into it tonight because of time, but because of him, what you see in the airline industry exists. Back in the day, there was no such thing as interline baggage. You flew down, you picked up your baggage from this airline, carried it over to the other airline. There wasn't anything like through flights, through fares that you paid on this one, you paid on that one. It was just a whole different world of what was going on. I just threw this picture in here because to Air Wisconsin people, it kind of means something. This was referred to as the Dirty Dozen, the first 12 pilots for Air Wisconsin. So, a couple things I want to point out. When did computers start coming around? Well, I'll show you the computers we had at that time if you wanted to check on flights. So here's like a United airline schedule, and you would figure out this was just for Chicago, and I want to fly, once I get into Chicago, I want to go to here or there. Here are all the flights, departure times, and all that. That was the way to get around. And these things changed as you went, like there was one of these for San Francisco or whatever, Washington, D.C. or whatever. So that was our computer system. This was in, as you can see, this is getting into later, but even at that, just look at the route structure. It was getting more, but it was still pretty slim. So, in the main, because I'm watching time here, I would just like to maybe get off of this and get into question and answers. I would like to point out that one of the things that happened in the airline industry, and again, Air Wisconsin was pretty much the beginning process of all of that, and that was getting these through fares and interline baggage and such. Back in the day, we were really strongly married to American Airlines. And so we were taking all of our passengers, and American worked with us. And so we were giving them a lot of business. They were happy about that. Deregulation comes around. Whew. Things are changing now. Deregulation, Preston Wilborn, president, says, it's just not going to work to stay with American because of deregulation and all these new fares and how things are going to be handled. We had to switch to United. So what was one of the things that we worked out with United? We became the first United Express. And it was a way of showing the public, you're with United, you don't know you're with Air Wisconsin. You get on the airplane, there's a little sign that says operated by Air Wisconsin, but our colors were United Express. And the other thing that was happening back in that day, remember? Computers. I remember reservations that we had. Man, they had this big lazy Susan. Had a lot of index card files. The girls are talking on the phone, they're swinging this thing around. It's a few layers high. Pull out a box, get an index card, write your name down for that flight, put it in there, and oh, you're not going to race. And so that's how they kept track of how many people were going to be on the flight. Well, world's changing and computers is making the difference. Well, if you want to add 1 and 1 to get 2, you need a computer the size of this room. So Air Wisconsin can't afford that. So back in the beginning, we were with Sabre Airlines, Americans, and that's how we were taking care of all of our fares, and that was really helping for making people connect better. And of course, the computer system was set up favor American, not like today where it'll favor, it'll pick different airlines, So when deregulation happened, and we were now associated with United, that became a troubling situation there. And in fact, before I say that, I want to point out some of the colors that we had as we were working with the different airlines. So for instance, this is our colors. And here's it with our 100 passenger airplanes, the BAE 146. But here's when we were with AirTran, and here's where we were with United Express, here's with US Airways, American Eagle. So we flew under all of those colors, and you never knew you were flying with Air Wisconsin. But then again, all the other regional airlines are the same thing. You don't know who you're flying on. You think you're flying with American or whatever. And it's really the regional things. So I like to end on one note. So I kind of gave you a little bit of a misnomer in the beginning when I said I was getting ahead of myself. So what happened was Air Wisconsin started August 23rd, 1965, and deregulation happens. We're associated with United. United wants to grow, and their headquarters, Chicago. How do you grow in Chicago? There's only so many landing slots, and those landing slots are 5 minutes long. And back in those days, it was $1 million to get a landing slot. I mean, it was a one lifetime thing, and once you got that slot, but you had to keep on flying that slot. And if you missed it 80% of the time, you lost the slot, lost $1 million. And so how do I convince you, your airline, to let me buy one of your slots? You're in the same boat as I am, So the only thing that United could do, Air Wisconsin is in our reservation system. They knew what flights were our good flights, and they just put their airplanes on top of ours into those cities. They just ran us financially down. Got the price down low enough on Air Wisconsin, they bought the airline. They didn't want the airplanes, they wanted our landing slots. That's all they want. So Air Wisconsin from 1965 still exists. Piece of paper, some file cabinet at United Airlines. United, meanwhile, took Air Wisconsin and split it into 3 groups. Our propeller airplanes out on the East Coast went into one company. Our propellers on the Midwest went into another company, and then the jets were left over. And a group of investors bought those jets. They kept the name Air Wisconsin. But this was Air Wisconsin Incorporated. this was Air Wisconsin Airlines Corporation, so AWAC as opposed to Air Wisconsin Incorporated. So this is what I had on my shirt here. This is Air Wisconsin. So from up to 1993. So my biggest thing is, I would really like to continue saying more now after the airline has started, but I would certainly offer to the Appleton Historical Society that if they want to have me next year, I'll get into more things. So again, any other questions? Yes. Well, it was in '93 when they bought the airline. So, yeah, so that was the end of the airline. So, yes.
Was there some kind of competition with Air Wisconsin or the airport here in Appleton and Oshkosh at one time? Because I remember a lot of times we had to go down to Oshkosh to fly wherever we were going.
So, back in the day, oh, I'm sorry. Wants to know if there's any competition between the two airports of Appleton and Oshkosh, North Central, or Wisconsin.
Why is Oshkosh like a non-airport now?
So, again, after World War II, there's not a transportation city out there. And, I mean, a transportation system out there. And so, Eisenhower, in terms of not only with the highways, wanted to get people to be moving around, develop some sort of an air transportation system. Well, gee, with where the airlines are flying now, that was pretty specific. We need to have those cities in the Dakotas and Wyoming, and well, nobody wants to fly there. They're not making any money. So they came up with what they call the EAS, Essential Airline Service. So the government would say, hey, we want to put this many flights a day or a week or whatever it is into this community, starting at A, going to B. We will pay you this much money to fly that flight. And if you can make more money on that, it's all yours. But if you don't, at least you got the subsidy, the Essential Airline Service was there. And once you got that, awarded to it, it was yours. You couldn't get rid of it unless your company was bought out or folded or whatever like that. So guess what? Appleton and Oshkosh were EAS cities. There wasn't enough people coming in and out of there. And it wasn't until Air Wisconsin started growing enough that more and more people were coming out. But North Central was able to get the government to drop Appleton as an EAS to North Central. And Air Wisconsin took over the EAS of that. And then eventually, North Central petitioned to drop Oshkosh as an EAS, and Air Wisconsin it took it over. And just with a matter of time, it was, people were just coming more and more to Appleton. The Appleton Airport had free parking at that time, and Oshkosh you had to pay. So people who were going down from the Fox cities down to Oshkosh, they could just stay here, it was cheaper. So it started growing here, and then eventually Oshkosh just fell by the wayside. So, yes, ma'am. What happened to the Fort Wayne hub? Well, in the development of Fort Wayne, we put a maintenance hangar down there and a reservation system down there too. And it was just like anything else. As things changed, we start flying to different cities. That worked for us back in the days when we were United. Now we're not with United anymore, and we have to fly we're flying to different cities. They're not part of really our route structure. We're trying to survive. We had, I think, 12 jets at that time. We had 18 at one time, but so we can't service that. And so eventually we just got out of that contract and dropped Fort Wayne. Somebody else had a question? Tom?
Was there any impact from Midwest
Actually, Midwest Express impact was interesting. It was a reverse, so to speak. So Air Wisconsin is doing in the Fox Valley what North Central did for Clintonville. Yes, Kimberly-Clark had their airplanes. They're taking their business people around, but Air Wisconsin's growing and they got a lot of frequency. It was just easier to send their businessmen on Air Wisconsin. They took a look at that. 50,000 passengers a year they're giving us. And they decided, you know, let's start flying an airplane to some of the hubs that all of our business people are going, you know, Appleton, Atlanta, things like that. They were just coming up with different things. And then once they got that figured out, they said, hey, let's open it up to public, because now that'll help underwrite that. And that was all going just fine, except the airline was under Kimberly-Clark. Kimberly-Clark and Scott Tissue merged. Kimberly-Clark's name stayed. The management of Scott Tissue was basically the management of the new group, and they said anything that's not related to paper, get rid of. Midwest was now put off on its own. Midwest could not afford to pay pay their bills, because mom and dad were helping, you know, giving them money, the infusion of money from Kimberly-Clark to keep that airline going. So once they're out on their own, they just eventually failed. Any other? So, all right. Thank you for coming. Oh, yes. Hopefully, we'll see, maybe next year. All right, bye now.